Well, there has yet to be a formal identification of this body, so we cannot say with any certainty that it is the body of Nicola Bulley, although, of course, many of the circumstances will lead some people to draw that conclusion. I'm obviously going to wait for the formal identification, which is, of course, a very sombre process. It can be done a number of ways, through DNA, dental records, or, if appropriate, a face-to-face identification by a loved one. There will, of course, be a post-mortem fairly soon, and during that process, a cause of death will hopefully be established, and all this evidence will be gathered together, probably for a coroner's court inquest, which will take place at some point in the future. All in all, a very sombre afternoon.
How difficult has this investigation been for Lancashire Police?
Well, I think with regards to the investigation, they came out with a working hypothesis very early on, which was that Nicola Bulley had gone into the water. That may yet seem to be borne out. We shall see with this identification process. With regards to their handling of the messaging, the information they put out to the public through press conferences and the like, that fell way short of what I would have expected. It was clumsy, it was clunky at times, it was inaccurate at other times, and of course it led to an absolute storm when they revealed that Nicola Bulley had alcohol issues connected to the perimenopause. And then we had the Home Secretary and no less than the Prime Minister expressing their concerns, and the Information Commissioner weighing in. So all of that at some point in the future will be subject to some very close scrutiny, I'm sure.
Well, what will happen next? The body has not yet been identified. If this is Nicola Bulley, how hard will it be to establish what happened?
That will be a matter for the post-mortem. And of course, pathologists are incredibly highly trained, knowledgeable and learned people. But there will be supporting evidence perhaps that might help the pathologist. And in turn, of course, it's really the coroner that will decide the cause of death through the coroner's inquest. That may be held within a matter of weeks, or it may be put off, depending on what further investigations are carried out. Of course, this body will be treated with the respect it deserves, but also any clothing potentially might be subject to forensic examination, perhaps footwear, any other items found. So there's a long way to go on this investigation, and I can thoroughly understand why the police now are probably going to play their cards a little bit closer to their chest in what they reveal, because we need to remember, whether this be Nicola Bulley or not, there will be people who will be grieving the loss of a loved one.
Absolutely. What sort of support will Nicola Bulley's family be receiving during this process?
Well, since the early stages of the investigation, a family liaison officer has been allocated to them. I know many people that have had really a kind of empowering and very satisfying relationships with their family liaison officers. And conversely, of course, some people who have lost loved ones have not got on quite so famously with these specialist officers. People sometimes seem to forget that family liaison officers, there's a bit of a sort of conception that they're really there for somebody to pour your heart out to. Actually, and the police might not thank me very much for saying this, but really, family liaison officers are there to gather evidence as well. And that's the harsh reality of it. They need to be very observant, and of course they need to behave with suitable empathy, sympathy, consideration, and I'm sure that in this case that hopefully is exactly what the FLO, the family liaison officer, is affording to the Bulley family, should indeed it turn out to be Nicola, whose body, if it's Nicola's body that's been found, sorry.